World War One. Austria versus Serbia. Austria seized Bosnia, which is ethnically mostly Serbian. A Serbian nationalist killed Archduke Franz Ferdinand, which prompted Austria to make demands on Serbia so unreasonable that Serbia would refuse to go to war. However, Serbia actually gave in to these demands. But Austria clearly just wanted war, so they declared war on Serbia anyway. Russia, seeking land in the Balkans, declared war on Austria in response. Germany, being allied to Austria, declared war on Russia. Germany also declared war on France, since France was allied to Russia. The conflict between Britain and Germany. Germany was becoming an industrial competitor to Britain, and the German Navy, if I recall, was the second largest in the world at the time. In short, and the British was the largest. In short, the British wanted to keep Germany contained in any way. Italy remained neutral despite being part of the Triple Alliance because it was said that the war with Serbia was aggression on the part of Austria, which is true, and Italy was only obligated to activate the alliance if the other powers were aggressed against, and Italy said that Germany and Austria were aggressing against other states. Germany, in an attempt to knock out France, invaded Belgium. Britain used the invasion of Belgium as an excuse to declare war on Germany. Britain, at the beginning of World War I, was not allied to France, and so was not, whereas France was allied to Russia, right? And Russia was allied to Serbia, and so when Austria declared war on Serbia, that resulted in Russia declaring war on Austria, which then resulted, and Germany was allied to Austria, and so Germany declared war on Russia. France was allied to Russia, although France at this time had not declared war on Germany yet, but Germany went ahead and declared war on France for fear of a French preemptive attack, and they had reason to believe of a French attack because the French army was getting mobilized, right? And what the German planners suspected, which may have been true, may have not been, was that Germany would have focused its manpower on Russia, and then France would launch a surprise attack on Germany. And Germany, the population of Germany is set up so that like the key industrial areas are right on the border with France. Okay, so the Germans would not have much time to mount an effective defense if they were caught off guard by the French, and so the Germans figured they had to attack. Now, in an attempt to outflank like the main defensive area in France, the Germans invaded Belgium, and Britain used the invasion of Belgium as an excuse to declare war on Germany. Right, and which is, I mean, and of course, if you look at a map of how many countries that Britain invaded, I mean, this is really incredibly hypocritical. If we were going to deal in the world of states. You know, Britain invades India, Australia, all these African places. And then, oh no, Germany invades Belgium. Well, they're aggressors. Britain invades Ireland, right? You know, kills 13% of the population of Ireland in order to get them in the Union. So, moving on. The Ottoman Empire then aligns with the Germans and the Austrians, and Italy then aligns with the French, British, and Russians. In 1917, caused by pressure put on them by the German, Austrian, and Ottoman invasions, the Russian monarchy begins to fail, and there's a revolution in Russia, which was promoted by the Germans. This knocks the Russians out of the war, and so the Germans can now focus on the war with France and Britain. In the U.S., the bankers greatly overestimated Russian, French, and British fighting ability and underestimated German and Austrian fighting ability, and so gave many more war loans to the British than to the Germans. Thus, the banksters had a vested interest in seeing the, quote, allies, close quote, win. Thus, the banksters lobbied the U.S. state to get the U.S. to enter the war after the Russian Revolution. Right? And that is why the U.S. entered the war after the Russian Revolution. Because if the French and British lost, which it looked like they were going to do since Russia was out of the war, the banksters would have been out of a lot of cash. Thus, World War I can appropriately be called a bailout war. Following the exit of Russia and the entry of the U.S., the Germans were on the clock to finally knock out France, and they almost did. Were it not for the arrival of U.S. troops, it is clear that Germany would have won. After Germany surrendered, the, quote, Allies, close quote, continued the blockade of Germany until June 1919, 7 more months, right? After Germany had surrendered, the Allies continued a blockade that led to the death of at least 100,000 more Germans. I do not recall the exact number, but I mean, basically, if that's not a war crime, I don't know what is. My analysis of this war, well, first off, I oppose all states. Given the states, Austria should have made a unilateral deal with the Serbians, forcing the Serbians to pay reparations, giving up territory to the Bulgarians, but then years later giving up Bosnia back to Serbia. That way the Austrians could save face, but also give up a territory that was clearly more trouble than it was worth. Like the Bosnian territory, the Austrian Empire was spending more money suppressing all the revolts in that area than they were getting from that area. It was a problematic area. They would have been better off just giving it up. But the Austro-Hungarian Empire didn't want to lose face, and they didn't want to appear as weak. And so it would have been good if they had just given it up after the conflict. So it wouldn't look like they gave it up because of this conflict. Okay. Similar to how the United States pulled missiles out of Turkey months after the Cuban Missile Crisis. So it would look like the Russians pulled out their missiles in response to the U.S. show of strength, when in reality it was just a deal. And the U.S. would pull missiles out of Turkey if the Russians pulled missiles out of Cuba. And they did that because the United States government wanted to save face and appear as strong. Anyway, given the war with Serbia and the ensuing war with Russia, Germany did, in my estimation, make the correct move in declaring war on France. The French army was mobilized, but France did not declare war on Germany, right? If Germany were to send the bulk of their army to Russia, which the war generals knew would take a long time, then the French could have made a surprise attack. Germany also made the correct move in invading Belgium, because the passage through Belgium made the invasion of France much easier and would have ended the war quicker if it did not cause the British to invade. Remember, since I do not respect states, it makes no difference to me whether Belgians or French die. They're all people. If 10,000 Belgians die, but this causes France to fall a year sooner, thus saving 500,000 Frenchmen and 500,000 Germans, I would give the invasion of Belgium my relative endorsement. Right. That is, I would support Germany going through Belgium if it would shorten the war and thus save lives in total, which I believe it would have had the British not invaded. However, the invasion of Belgium was used as an excuse for the United Kingdom to declare war on Germany, and this made what would have been a quick German victory into the Great War. But I do not fault the Germans for not foreseeing that, especially since Britain taking offense to the self-determination of other states being violated is transparently hypocritical, given, just look at the map of all the areas that the British have violated. That was just my quick rundown of World War I. I'm sure you know about all of this. The key point in this is that the banksters getting the U.S. into the war following the Russian Revolution, right? That was what caused Germany to lose, which is a point I will outsource. Links in the description talking about the effects of the loans trade on the U.S. entry into the war in 1917. So